At this point, all I could say is I feel sometimes as if we were cursed with the folks that the original pilgrims were running away from. Once they realized that this was a land of opportunity, the ones that were basically, ¿cómo se dice? Prosecuting or persecuting the folks that wanted their freedom, they just came and did the same thing that they were doing over here. They gave the Indians a little bit, and then they say, why do we have to give them anything? Let's just drive them out or kill them. I mean, this is the mentality that these folks had.
Well, it was religious extremism, because let's not forget it was the Puritans who believed in, just there's only one way. Let's not forget that the Puritans and the Protestant religion was the dominant religion. I mean, Catholics weren't even allowed to vote.
That's true.
Until, several hundred years after the country was founded.
That's true. That's true.
But that's where, again, to the credit of the founding fathers, the word God was never used in any founding document. They separated church from state, and they did not want to repeat the mistakes of Europe and where they came from, because they knew that it was religion that was at the root of all conflicts, and they wanted to avoid it.
And here we are.
And here we are again.
Isn't that something?
Yes.
Wow, Mary Catherine, tell me something that I don't know. Tell me something. With that name, I keep on seeing you with the habit and the... I mean, it really is sad, that we have put ourselves... Again, this is a wonderful country, but there's a handful of people, and they know who they are, that rule.
That's right.
Here with an iron fist. And sometimes I just feel like we've been... Again, I use the word curse because... I'm sure there were some shamans among the Indians that just said, these folks, they need a good curse to come down and strike them. And the blacks on those slave boats, they probably said the same thing. Come on, there were witch doctors back then, and they probably said the same thing. I want this country to be cursed as they're dying. Their last words are what they told their children. And today we could see that there's such animosity and hatred among certain Americans because of all things color. I mean, I'm a mutt. Look at me. I'm not even black or white. I take this off and they think I'm African American. I mean, I may have some of it. I'm probably Arab. Coming from Spain. Those Moros were there for 800 years. Hello. And most of the white people came from England and came from France. Yep. And they get together and here's Sweet Lou. But the fact is that it's what we do with each other. And it comes out every so often. You see it. How people gravitate to the need to help each other. We saw it in Katrina when we had. We saw it in Waco. What we felt there. Again, I'm not into judging. I'm into what happened. People came together. We're even seeing it with the polygamists.
Yes.
They're saying, what's going on here? I mean, this is supposed to be the land of the free, and somebody made a bogus call, and right away. I'm not into the marriage of 13-year-old and 14-year-olds with 50-year-old guys, but hey, that's their religion, and we live in a country that's supposed to be free. So, getting back to the politics, I think what we find at times is who's right and who's wrong. I mean, how do you determine that?
Well, that depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
And you and I have talked many times about what's right and what's wrong, what's good, what's bad, what's positive, what's negative. And my perspective is there's no such thing as any of those, except when you subjectively ask the individual. And of course, you'll get varying filters of all of those perspectives, depending on who you talk to. My major question, and it's one that's been burning over here for several minutes listening to you, Peter, because I'm amazed. I told you before that my brother John, my most politically active of my three brothers, sent me a quote from you, from one of your blogs online.
Great.
And I remember it was a solution-oriented quote. And so my question to you, and I would feel remiss in respect to my brother if I didn't ask you, what do you see as the problem? Obviously, there's a pyramid type of problem, because many of these problems that we're describing seem to feed off one another and create a much larger base of mess, if you will. Obviously, there's got to be a pinnacle to attack, or at least address in a solution form. So what do you see as that pinnacle, and what do you see as the solution process?
Well, that's a multifaceted question with answers. And let me just start.
And we only have 4 minutes left.
So let's try and fit it all in.
Yeah.
Because I think the solution your brother was referring to on the blog that I've been writing about that has been receiving a lot of traction is what is the solution in Iraq. And if you look at the history of Iraq, it was a country that was artificially put together by the Brits at the end of World War I, which they did what they have done in Africa and everywhere, which is force fighting tribes to live together while they are over the resources that the empires want. So while they're fighting, the way they pay for their weaponry is to sell the resources at a discount. We see that with blood diamonds, we see that with oil, we see that with every resource. So the solution for Iraq is a very simple one. Split the country into 3 separate countries: Sunnistan, Shiistan, Kurdistan. It worked in Yugoslavia, it worked in Czechoslovakia. True partition will do in Iraq what Glasnost did in Russia. Look what happened to Russia, look what happened to Eastern Europe, Romania, Poland, Czechoslovakia. The mullahs of Iran, the Saudi families, the minute you split that country into 3, will go the way of the Ceausescus of Romania and the other dictators of Eastern Europe. Because the Shias in the south have oil, they will join forces with the Shias in Saudi Arabia, which is the last thing the House of Saud wants to see. It's the only country in the world named after a family, by the way. And the biggest financial supporters of the Bush families, and many others have written books about the relationship between the two. Then you've got the Sunnis in the middle, and you've got the Kurds. The Kurds in the north are going to join forces with the Kurds in Iran, Syria, and Turkey. But you know what? Isn't that what America said it was going to do when it went there? We're going to bring democracy to the region. So give them the democracy they want instead of trying to force them to live together. And let's not forget what we were told when we went to Iraq. The Iraqis were going to pay for the war, and oil would be cheaper. Well, the Iraqi government has over $30 billion sitting in U.S. banks that isn't being touched, while we, the taxpayers, are asked to pay for it. And oil that was at less than $60 a barrel before we went to war is now approaching $120. So let's get real. You want the mission accomplished, true democracy, 3 different countries, and so what if one of them is going to start off being a fundamentalist Islamic republic? Let them kill each other till they get to the point, as they have in Iran now, where the new generation says, we want democracy, American style. But the rest of the answer to your question is public finance of campaigns, so you take out the private corporate interests. Why shouldn't Joe and Jane Sixpack have the right to contribute $1 to whatever amount on their tax return and get full tax credit, and you still allow the private individuals or corporations to make some contribution, but it has to be controlled, regulated, and there have to be campaign limits, and 2, also term limits. Career politicians cannot be allowed to run the country forever the way they are doing today. They should do what is in the best interest of the people, not constantly do what's best for their re-election. It's ironic that every president that leaves, the White House says the term of the president should be 1 6-year term so they can focus on the job, but it's never changed. So the minute they get elected, they're already running for re-election. And so those are 3 of the solutions that I have addressed, and there are many more, but we do have time constraints.
Thank you, Peter, for coming, really, and I want you to come back.
It's my pleasure. It's a delight being with you guys.
Because I want to make sure that you understand. I think we need to continue talking about this, possibly before the election, maybe.
Happy to.
Yeah.
Happy to.
And that way it gives me some time to read this. I know I'm going to enjoy reading this, and again, thank you for coming. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure being here, Sweet Lou. Thanks for having me.
Thank
And
you.
Devo, it's a pleasure. I'll bring you guys copies of the other books. I have them in the car so
right.
that you, if you really want to get into it.
Oh, I know I will. I know I will.